Hari Om, Hari Om. We'll sing one Devi Bhajan.
सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयम् नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्।
It's okay. It's okay. Be careful. The chairs have wheels, so when you sit and get up, please be careful.
भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दम् गोविन्दं भज मूढमते सम्प्राप्ते सन्निहिते काले नहि नहि रक्षति डुक्रुन्करणे।
Hari Om. In the last session we had seen the first shloka of Bhaja Govindam, where Bhagwan is calling somebody as Mudamate. Who was this Mudamate? Somebody who has considered only secular knowledge as goal of life. We saw there are two yatras. One is called as Deha Yatra, another is called as Jiva Yatra. So Deha Yatra has lot of things to do with how comfortable we can live in this world. There are 6 stations of Deha Yatra which everybody has to go through. There is no choice of skipping any station, no matter who that person is. And somebody who thinks only Deha Yatra is goal of life, to that person Bhagwan Shankaracharya says, what is the real outcome? What is the real thing that you are seeking out of Deha Yatra? If destination is going to be Vinashyati one day, and if Viparinamate, the downward side of this body is going to come anyway, that alone cannot be goal of life. He says there has to be something different, and that is somebody who starts looking at Jiva Yatra also. So for Jiva Yatra, he starts as a Pamara. Pamara means one who is not concerned about how sense objects will come, he just wants them at any cost. And then slowly he becomes Vishayi. Vishayi wants sense objects, but he wants it ethically. He wants it through hard work. Lot of effort he puts. Then with Bhagwan's grace, he gets this revelation that no matter how much I have, that alone is not giving me contentment. That quest to seek something permanent, seek something higher, seek something which is different from sense objects, that person is called as sadhaka. And the intensity of his quest will decide how quickly he goes to siddha. This is where we have gradation in mumukshutvam. Means whoever is seeking, so there are different people who are going at different pace. For any field, right? That is true. Even if you are teaching some class like a music class or something, you'll see the commitment of different student is very different. Some will be very attentive to what you teach. They'll pay attention to nuances, ask the right questions. And next time when they come, they would have perfected the previous part. So this is said, this was one of Arjuna's quality. Whatever Dronacharya taught him, before he went to the next lesson, he was already good with the previous one. So in this way the sadhaka becomes siddha, where he goes to abide in that supreme truth. So Bhagavan Shankaracharya is telling this person who has taken shelter only in secular knowledge, he says when difficult times come, sannihita kala comes, only secular knowledge is not going to help us. And the last 2 years were a closer look at this statement. Samprapte sannihite kale nahi rakshati dukrun karane. I think I had shared this not in the last class but in some other satsang. I met one person who was a researcher, very technically savvy, very logical. And when the COVID phase started, he said, my way of thinking was that this is nature's way of selecting how it should spread out and everything, because that is how random theories work and so on. But because of in the second wave that hit, he himself got it. And it was quite severe, the second wave was quite severe. And he said, I was trying to convince myself that all of this is random. Nature has selected and I happen to be one of that selected person. He said that was not helping me. And wife on the other hand, pious sadhaka, she said just chant Hanuman Chalisa, Bhagwan will bring us out of it. And he said that Shraddha in just taking Bhagwan's name proved more effective than all the logic that I had in mind. And his conclusion was, my agnosticism which was there was 100%. After this incident, it came down to 50%. Of course, not zero directly, but these are steps in our journey where we feel that prayers do have their power and I can take some divine support. Sannihita kala, one meaning is difficult times, but more literal meaning of that is time of death. It is said, once we take ourselves to be this body, we become so one with this body that there is a lot of fear of letting go of this body. In Patanjali Yoga Sutra, it is called as Abhinivesha. Abhi means very well entered into this body. And that thought leads to lot of klesha in the mind. Klesha means agitations, all different kinds of emotions. That is part of this fundamental misunderstanding that I am this body. Now, if I have to come out of this klesha, what is the antidote? This is, look, do the solution in the first line. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. And somebody who has lived such a life, he says, Bhagwan, I am not even afraid of death. Where is this said? Ishavasya Upanishad. Look at the last part of those mantras which are there. He is praying to sun god. Devotee is praying to sun god. He says, this body may it be burnt by fire. Let this body be burnt by fire. Krato smara krutam smara. Krato smara krutam smara. Remember all the good deeds that you have done and the devoted life that you have lived. If Bhagwan has taken care in this life, why fear about hereafter? So with that free mind, this devotee is ready for anything. And in other Upanishad, in Mundaka Upanishad and all, it is said, there are apsaras who welcome such a jiva, ehi, ehi. But those apsaras are this devotee satkarma. Pauranically, sometimes they depict as apsara and one person inviting. But what it means there is, he has lived a life in such a way, devoted life, that he says, even this body, it has fulfilled its purpose. I have lived a productive life and made the best use of this body. So that Bhagavan says, Sannihita Kala, when it comes, only secular knowledge will not help. This sadhana part, this devotion to Bhagavan, that is what is going to save us. So this is what we had seen of power of bhajan. Do you remember the thing Goswamiji had said? First was bhajan, which melted Bhagavan's heart, and it came as krupa, grace of the Lord. And because of that grace, this devotee could recognize the power of the Lord, called as Prabhuta Jnanam. Not that it was not there before. Bhagavan's grace is there on all of us, or has been there for a long time. It's only a matter of acknowledging it. That acknowledgement also comes because of His grace only. So with Krupa came Prabhuta Jnanam. Then with Prabhuta Jnanam, he got Vishwasa. That my Bhagavan is powerful and somebody whom I can ask for help, and he has helped me. And that Vishwasa turned into love, prema. And some well-wisher who is always there, who is always ready to take care. Natural that such a person will start loving Bhagavan. And later on, when repeated practice was done, this prema became Druda Bhakti. See, in Sadhana Panchakam, Shankaracharya just mentions one line, right? Bhagavato bhaktir drudadhiyatam. Means, before you step on the spiritual path, have firm faith in Bhagavan. But to understand what it means, more elaboration you find in Bhagavatam, you find it in Ramayana. This whole process that Goswamiji has given. Then he elaborates this process in the context of Kakabhushandiji's story. This part actually comes in Uttarakanda. Kakabhushandiji is telling Garudji, he says, whatever little sadhana you are doing, never look down upon it. It could be as simple as taking a glass of water to Lord Shivaji's mandir, Om Namah Shivaya, just offer it on him, but every day, without fail and with lot of Shraddha. This is that simple bhajan of Bhagavan brought Krupa. And that Krupa led to Prabhuta Jnanam. Guru was sent in my life. That Guru took me to Lord Shiva and gave me his darshan also. Rudrashtakam, that is the background of it. And then Lord Shiva takes care of Kakabhushandiji's journey further. So this is what we had seen in the last session, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. And we also had seen the meaning of the word Bhaja. Bhaja means, one way of Bhaja is through singing, through doing pujanam of Bhagavan. That is one expression of Bhajanam. Bhajanam also can be through our actions. If our actions are such that they are in the memory of the Lord, that action itself is bhajan of Bhagavan. I always remember our Divine Life Society, Swamiji, his name was Swami Chidanandji Maharaj, Gurudev's Guru Bhai. He has one quote which says, looking at you, the world should know the glory of your teacher. Means looking at, he would tell all the disciples and devotees, looking at all of you, people should appreciate how great Shivanandji Maharaj was. That is the bhajanam of teacher through the action of student. Now they might sing his namavali, they might sing his glory. That is one part of bhajanam. This is another bhajanam happens through remembrance. That is this Govinda. Bhagavan is, his name is Govinda. Vatsapala became Gopala. That same Gopala is Govinda. Now the second verse is again to another category of Mudha only. Okay, but the meaning of Mudha is important to appreciate. Let us see now.
मूढ़ जहि धनागम तृष्णा कुरु सद्बुद्धिं मनसि वितृष्णा यल्लभसे निज करमोपात्तम् वित्तं तेन विनोदय चित्तम् भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते.
This refrain is added, so at least in the class, our Nama Sankirtanam happens. Outside, whether we get Govinda Smriti or not, at least once a week we will get it. Again, Bhagwan says, O Moodhamate, Bhaja Govindam, Mooda Jahihi Dhanagama Trishnam. Now, this is second category of Moodha, who has made wealth as goal of life. Now, these verses are such, they have to be understood very carefully. If you understand it, very good. If you don't understand it, also good. In between is dangerous. Because I was teaching this also for Yuva Kendra, and you have to continuously reflect to get to the point where you don't misunderstand it. So he says, there is one category of people in society who have made wealth as goal of life. You can also include position, power, everything is included, not only wealth. Wealth is just one upalakshana. Upalakshana means one out of the many you are pointing out. And he is not an unintelligent person, ignorant person. He is a very hard-working person. Even if wealth is the goal, that person works so hard and so diligently. Sometimes his days are so packed, morning one working meeting, breakfast, lunch somewhere else, dinner somewhere else, jet setting, across the country. Now, whenever we think about these verses, Bhagwan is keeping everybody in mind. So, we should appreciate this mindset in society, wherever we might see it. You can also look at position. That person says, if I get a good position where people are following me, all of that alone is my goal. And the best place to see that is politicians. You look at their schedule during campaigning. They start at 7 a.m., not only their constituency, all other people, all other places they have to go, including their own duty. It will end early morning at 3 a.m. There used to be one interview program called 24 Hours with Politicians. And it was so humbling to see their routine. 7 a.m. they start, go all the way until 3 a.m., sleep for a few hours, again start meetings at 7 a.m. People are waiting, right? Next day the whole thing starts. So he says this is that group. They are not Pamara, not Sadhaka yet, but Vishayi. Those who think wealth, power or position alone is goal of life. To them, Bhagwan is saying, Moodha Jahihi Dhanagama Trishna. Careful, every word he says. O Moodha, let go of this Trishna for Dhana Agama. He is not saying Dhanam Jahihi. Dhanam Jahi means let go of wealth. What he is saying here is, let go of that excessive desire for thinking how will wealth come. Dhana Agama means how will wealth come. That Trishna you let go of. Mooda Jahihi Dhana Agama Trishna. This is where Vedanta is very, very practical and it is very realistic. If we misunderstand, somebody might say Vedanta is always endorsing minimalist life, or it endorses not good. It doesn't endorse prosperity or anything of that sort. Our rishis said, no matter which project it is, no matter what we want to accomplish in family, institution, organization, 3 things we need right in the beginning. He said the first thing is resources. Financial resources, you say, human resources, all of that is needed. First step, resources is what we need. Second is we need a vision, right? Where are we headed with the resources? Lot of resources might be there, but we don't know how to use it. So he said we need a vision. And third is we need ability to mobilize the resources. All resources which are there towards my vision, I should be able to use them in the right way. And these 3 things are 3 Shaktis in our Dharma. The first one is wealth and resources, that is Lakshmi Devi. We worship Divine Mother as the one who can bless with all prosperity, all resources. Then you have the vision part, which is Saraswati Devi, Devata of Buddhi, Devata of intellect. And you have the implementation part, mobilization part, that is Durga Devi. Divine Mother, Shakti, all of the 3 are powers. So we should not say Dhanam Jahihi, Jnanam Jahihi, Shaktim Jahihi. Bhagavan is telling Dhana Agama Trishnam Jahihi. Let go of this excessive worry about how will wealth come. Now what is the problem with having this Dhana Agama Trishnam? If all the 3 are Devis, what is the problem in going after Dhana, Jnanam and Shakti and so on? This is all problem comes when we go after Lakshmi Devi without Narayana. Along with Narayana, Lakshmi Devi says, I will come anyway. That is why Lakshmi Narayana, they go together. Gurudev's famous line was, whenever people would tell him, right, that Gurudev, we need funds, we need resources. He said, you hold on to Narayana, Lakshmi Devi will come. Means what? Our noble goal should be noble and pure. Resources, how to find it? Bhagavan makes his way. And minus Narayana, minus Lord Brahma, minus Lord Shiva, consorts of Saraswati Devi and Durga Devi, he says that Shakti by itself becomes a bondage. This is the main part. Bhagavan is not criticizing wealth, not criticizing prosperity. He says, with that prosperity, what do we want to accomplish? Let that goal be noble. Let us not get caught up in the means. This portion we had seen even in Rama Valmiki Samvada. In Ramcharitmanas, Valmiki Rishi is pointing out 14 places for Bhagavan to come and stay. Bhagavan asks a simple question. Valmiki Rishi, I am in the forest. Please tell me where can I go and stay. And Valmiki Rishi takes that opportunity. He says, I will tell you 14 homes to stay. And there are 14 different sadhakas who are doing their own sadhana. He says, in their home you go and stay. So one of the sadhaka is Grahastha-ashrami sadhaka. One who is in Grahastha-ashrama. What is their sadhana? So Goswamiji says, they have all prosperity in their life. Pata is there, Bhushana is there. Pata means clothes. Bhushana means jewelry, ornaments. Even food. He says lavish food is there, very fragrant and delicious. But what is the one thing they do? They eat it only after Naivedyam. Offer that food to Bhagavan and then eat it as prasada. Pata and Bhushana, first they keep it in front of Bhagavan and then wear it as prasada. He says that is healthy perspective towards prosperity. Look at the result of that. He says one who does this, does their sadhanas, he adds few more things there. He says in between they go for pilgrimage also. Tirtha Yatra also they do. Bhagavan comes and lives in their heart. This is the first home of Bhagavan. He says in such a sadhaka, Bhagwan comes and lives. So never prosperity is criticized, but only put in the right perspective. Okay? Mooda jahihi dhana agama trishnam. Kuru sadbuddhim manasavi trishnam. Develop some kind of sadbuddhi. What is sadbuddhi over here? Sadbuddhi means to understand that whatever wealth I have, whatever resources I have, that is for upayoga, not for bhoga. Upayoga means I will use it for the right purpose, but doing bhoga of it means enjoying it is not the real goal. Two things can be there, right? And we do upayoga of so many things. Like right now chairs are there. Right? We do upayoga of that chair and you leave it and go. But let us say this thought comes, this is my chair. I want to make it comfortable. Next time there will be some cushion. There will be something else added. Or I will bring my own chair. Now you see how one same entity which was for upayoga became for bhoga. So Bhagavan says all resources, they are for upayoga, not for bhoga. In the Rajasuya Yajna in Mahabharata, Yudhishthira goes and gets lot of wealth. Arjuna helps him. This is where he gets the name Dhananjaya. Dhanam jayati iti Dhananjaya. And lot of richness is there. All the kings are bringing all their treasuries and putting in Yudhishthira's treasury. Whom does Yudhishthira appoint as the treasurer? Duryodhana. He says Duryodhana will be taking care of treasury of Hastinapura. Why? Because if it is somebody else's wealth, Duryodhana will give more. Yudhishthira says, if I hold on to it, I will get attached to that wealth. He says, whoever has come, dhanam should be done, let it go in whichever way it has supposed to go. But that same position, Duryodhana feels jealous and gets attached. That is where Mahabharata actually, the play starts from there. He says, I took so much of effort to pull them down, and Pandavas, even then they were able to be so prosperous. That seed of jealousy is sown, and then later things emerge out of that seed. But the main point is, Yudhishthira is also having that wealth, but he looks at it more from upayoga standpoint, and Duryodhana looks at it more from bhoga standpoint. He says, why should this not be mine? Why should this not be mine? Yudhishthira says, I will use this for dharma. There is one very subtle point here. What is the connection between wealth, resources and happiness? What is the connection? You can say there is no connection, but is that how we look at it? Because we feel wealth can buy some sense object, and that object, if it is there with me, I am happy. It could be anything, right? We have purchased, we have brought. This was the mindset which was there before it. But it is also our experience that there are situations, there are times when all objects are there around, but still mind is not happy. Same things are there around, but still mind is not happy. Right? So what was the difference? You see, for wealth and happiness, there is one conversion which is needed in between. They have these adapters, right? You cannot directly plug in your things. Converter is needed. This conversion is of dharma. Whatever resources are there, they first get converted into dharma. That dharma brings happiness. And that happiness which comes through dharma is a more long-lasting happiness. So much so that it makes us independent of that object. Real freedom in having objects is if we don't depend upon that object. Right? what we otherwise call as bondage through objects, right? What is that bondage doing? It is not holding me, but making us mentally dependent upon that object. So dharma is one converter, where resources are there, they are converted into dharma, and that dharma or punya karma brings happiness. So much so that it will come to us even if we don't want it. If somebody has lived a dharmic life and their punya karmas are ripened, even if that person doesn't want sukham, it will come knocking at their door. I am not saying this. Vasishtha Maharaj tells Dashrath Maharaj. Dashrath Maharaj says, he tells Dashrath Maharaj, your punya karmas are such that even if you don't want, all sukham will come to your palace. Just like river water gushes into ocean. Ocean never asked for it. Ocean never invited it. He says it will come like that. This is the power of karma. You can put it the other way also. Opposite way, Prahladaji puts it. He says, we did not want dukkham. Did dukkham ever ask before coming? Simple headache, flat tire, whatever those sources of dukkham are. No matter how hard you try, it will come searching for us. So many people are there. Why did it find me only? He says there is flawless delivery. No mixing up. Karma phalas will go and find that person. So if dukkham can be that flawless in coming to us, why doubt about sukham also? So this person is somebody who has realized the importance of punya karma. So he invests his resources into good, noble work, and that nobility of action brings him happiness. Directly there is no connection. This we should only analyze and think. If wealth or resources could directly bring happiness, everybody who has that should have been the happiest person. Right? If there was direct connection. But we see there is some other thing which is needed in addition to everything else. You cannot make it the other way also. You cannot say anybody who has wealth is always sorrowful. Like that Dashrath Maharaj, the lock of his home was made with gems. In Ramayana, that's how Goswamiji describes. His house is made with all the doors and all have golden frame and everything. The lock of his house is made with gems and jewels. So much prosperity, but inside so much of joy. This is called as true Abhyudaya. Morning class we were seeing this. Abhyudaya means prosperity at all fronts. Not prosperity at the cost of something. In general, the worldly way of looking at prosperity is like that, or it ends up like that. You are prosperous on one side, but at mind level, there is lot of, agitation is there. Things are not prosperous at mind level. If it is prosperous at mind level, physical level, it takes a hit. So true Abhyudaya is at all fronts. So Bhagavan says that person is the one who has understood the importance of dhanam. Not criticizing it, but looking at it more from a deeper perspective. Mooda jahihi dhanagama trishnam. Kuru sadbuddhim manasivi trishnam. So sadbuddhi is what? Getting the right perspective that dhanam is for upayoga, not for bhoga. This is the first mantra in Ishavasya Upanishad. Tena tyaktena bhunjitaha ma grutah kasya sviddhanam. This is dhanam which is there, finally it belongs to Bhagavan only. I am a trustee of it. I am blessed that Bhagavan has entrusted me with his wealth. So I am going to make the best use of it, and that is my seva towards the Lord. Ishavasya idagam sarvam. He says if everything is Bhagavan's, all resources are Bhagavan's only. That kind of prosperity does not bind. Now Bhagavan says you have to put forth little effort to think on your own also. Kuru sad buddhim manasi vitrishnam. Vitrishna means reflect on your own and come to certain conclusions. Vitrishna literally means dispassion. Right? Trishna means desire. Vitrishna means from that person in whom desire has walked away. Vitrishna means that. Now think about it. How will Vitrishna come? Can it come through karma or does it come through vichara? That is the important part. I might hear Bhaja Govindam. I might sing also. But he says, Manasi Vitrishnam. When we are on our own, we should reflect upon these facts of life and come to a conclusion which is in line with this. Not something else. You can think and come opposite conclusion also. Right? So he says, in our mind we should develop healthy introvertedness. Gurudev's words were very beautiful. For Vitrishnam, he uses the word healthy introvertedness. Yal labhase nija karmopattam. He says, how do I live my life then? If you are telling me don't have dhana agama trishnam, what is the way to live my life? He says, whatever duty Bhagwan has blessed you with, that duty will bring results, that duty will bring dhanam. Nija karmopattam. With my own karma, whatever dhanam that person has got, he says, with that dhanam, learn to live a cheerful life. Yal labhase nija karmopattam vittam tena vinodaya chittam. Vinodaya means live happily within the resources that our hard work brings us. In Kathopanishad, Nachiketa is there, who goes to Yamacharya, and Yamacharya gives lot of options. He says, you can have all this land, have all these resources, have all this wealth. Nachiketa makes only one statement. He says, Bhagwan, I have seen people in this world, and there is nobody who has said, this much I have gotten and I am satisfied. Navittena tarpaniyo manushyaha. This much resources I have gotten, wealth-wise, resources-wise, and now I say I am done. Nothing more I want. But later part is interesting. He says, Lapsyamahe vittam adrakshma chetva. Means he says, O Yamacharya, I have seen you. Having seen you, will I ever fall short of this wealth and resources? That I am going to get anyway. It's very intelligent, Nachiketa. He says, I don't even have to worry about wealth because I got your darshan. Anyway, you are going to bless me with that. Why should I make that as goal? So my goal is the third one that I am going to ask. 3 boons he asks, right? Third one he says is about nature of truth. That is the only thing I want. So Manasi Vitrishnam, after having done that, he says, Yal labhase nija karmopattam. With our own self-effort, being content with whatever Bhagwan blesses us. Vittam tena vinodaya chittam. The only way to keep our mind cheerful is when this mind learns to have sattva guna. When some sadhana is done, early morning there are reminders of our own higher nature, our own values. Those reminders, having a good routine, that sattva guna will become vinoda. Vinoda doesn't mean humor. Vinoda also doesn't mean some other worldly ways of entertaining. Vinoda can have several meanings here. But the meaning in this context is that sadhaka who has done sadhana, his mind will be cheerful. You put it another way also. And this Gurudev would tell all sadhakas. He says, whenever anything appears bothering, it might be an incident, it might be a conversation, it might be some experience. He says, take a look at your sadhana again. See whether you have gone down in it. And he would say, most of the times we will find something is falling apart in our sadhana. Mind is not able to stay in Sattva Guna. Repercussion of that is inability or smaller things appearing big. That is Bhagwan's analysis. He says, through dhanam, do sadhana, increase Sattva Guna, and that will bring Vinoda in life. Goswamiji gives an example. He says, wealth is like shadow. More we chase it, it goes away. And if somebody can look in the other direction and walk, he says the shadow will follow that person. This he writes in Dohavali. He has written a lot of Vyavaharik wisdom in Dohavali. Small couplets are there. He says one of it is about wealth. Okay. Now comes another very important verse, which again has to be understood very, very carefully. Okay, let us see third verse. Nari sthana baranabhidesham, Nari sthana baranabhidesham, Drushtva maga mohavesham, Drushtva maga mohavesham, Etan mam savasadi vikaram, Manasi vichintaya varam varam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate. The first verse was addressed to somebody who had made secular knowledge as goal of life. Second verse was addressed to somebody who had made wealth and other resources, position, power as goal of life. Remember, these two are not indulgent people. They are very hardworking because that person whom he is addressing is a great scholar. That's why all these other facets were important to appreciate who these people are. Now, third person is the one who is a bhogi. Bhogi means the first category in Jiva Yatra, Pamaraha. He doesn't care where bhoga comes from. He says, all I want is bhoga. Amongst all different bhogas which are there, Bhagwan just takes one to indicate all of it. So the one he takes is Kama. Okay? But he is addressing somebody who is having bhoga as goal of life. And he says this Kama is so powerful that it can remove viveka from a person's mind. What is right, what is wrong, what should be done, what is harmful. Even that viveka can go away. See, our Puranas just help us appreciate that point better. We know in the story of Pandu in Mahabharata, Pandu had a curse. And that curse, he lives in the forest with Kunti and Madri, and this Kama Vasana becomes so overpowering in spite of knowing that if Kama Vasana comes, he ends up giving up his body. That much of a consequence was there, but still he falls for that Kama Vasana. That story is just to show how powerful this Kama can be and how alert a sadhaka must be. Now, just looking at what this Kama is. Kama, if it is according to Dharma, Bhagwan says that is my expression. In Bhagavad Gita only Bhagwan says, Dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshava. Kama which is in line with Dharma, Bhagwan says that is my vibhuti. And in our scriptures, Kama is a devata. Kama deva we say. He is not an asura. But the only thing is, it has to be in line with Dharma. So Bhagwan here is addressing that, and he takes one example just for, out of all the kamanas which can be there, he takes attachment to this physical body to be one example, and he elaborates the power of Kama through that example. Okay? And he says, there is a technique. Because this karma, if somebody realizes what a calamity it is, how it makes a person weak from inside. If karma comes inside, how it can make a person weak, that person seeks solution to overcome karma. And Bhagwan is telling here, the solution there is Pratipaksha Bhavana. Look at the reality of things, look at things as they are. Repeatedly keep doing this. It will bring the mind out of karma. Lot of things are there in this verse. One he says is power of repetition. You see the last part, Manasi Vinchinte Varam Varam. Just like desires got stronger by repeating, desires can be removed also by repeating. So that repetition of looking at things as they are, understanding the reality of things as they are, Bhagwan says that is also one sadhana. So here the example is of physical body. So there are a lot of great Mahatmas and very interesting stories in our Puranas to communicate that point. There is one story, they say this is of Queen Madalasa, but I have not found a valid source for that, but they say it was Madalasa. She was a very learned and a wise lady. Queen Madalasa, she was a very wise lady. And she has written a composition also, Madalasa Upadesha, very Vedantic in composition. There is another story related to Madalasa, but I will not go into that one. Maybe some other time we'll see. So one day, some other neighboring king, he gets fascinated by Madalasa. She was a queen already married to a king, and this neighboring king, he comes to meet and he gets fascinated by Madalasa. So she tells that king, come after 15 days. Come after 15 days. And this king says, okay. And he comes back after 15 days and he opens the door of the palace. Madalasa opens it. And he looks for Madalasa. He says, where is Madalasa? He says, I am Madalasa. You don't look the same. So what she had done was, she had fasted for 15 days. Lived only on water. And she had 5 jars kept next to her. One jar had all rotten food and vegetables. Second jar had bones. Third jar had water. Other jars, I won't elaborate what was there, but all things were there which she had kept inside. What are there in this physical body? And then she said, there is no difference between this and this. If you are having so much aversion towards that, why have attraction towards this? That king got his message. This is what he means here. Manasi Vichintaya Varam Varam. Think again and again of the nature of this human body. If you read Viveka Chudamani, in some other text, so much of criticism is there of human body. Now it's not, we should not understand it out of context. What it means here is, if we want Vairagya, there has to be a trigger. And that trigger is Pratipaksha Bhavana. Looking at things from a different perspective, rather looking at the realistic side of things. And we will realize, even to do this, it needs a calm mind. When Kama Vasana is there, we cannot do Pratipaksha Bhavana along with it. So the battle has to be fought before, then this person can face the enemy better. Preparation has to be done before. When Kama comes, he can face it better. Now the famous story that we know is of Goswami Tulsidas ji. Same incident it is. His wife's name was Ratnavali. And he was so attached to his wife. The movie you should watch, Goswami Tulsidas ji, it's a black and white movie. I think it's in Hindi, but they have subtitles also. But very nicely depicted. And there this episode comes. He is so attached to Ratnavali that he had a fabric shop. And whenever customers would come, he would lay out the fabric cloth in front. And if somebody says, I like this one, I want to buy it, he would say, no. he would take it and say how nice it would look on Ratnavali. So he would go and put it on Ratnavali, leaving his shop out there. So she would be so upset at him, why are you so attached, why are you so attached? But it didn't work out anyway. So one day his Ratnavali's brother comes and takes her to father's house. And Goswamiji, out of his attachment to her, he cannot live without her even for one day. So that night, he crosses the river, Gangaji is overflowing, in that rain he crosses, holding on to a corpse. A dead body was floating, holds on to it, crosses, and then sees her room is in the second floor. Climbs up, holding on to a rope, which was actually a snake. First person, to flip example in Vedanta. One who took snake to be a rope. And he goes inside thinking that Ratnavali will be very happy. She will say, oh, Tulsidas ji, you are such a great devotee, you are such a great husband, you went through all these difficulties and now you have come to meet me. But Ratnavali, all of this is Bhagwan's Leela. His samskaras were already there. It needed a trigger. So Ratnavali only says one line. The attachment that you have for this human body, if you had half of it, you would have reached Bhagwan Rama. Half of it if you had. And he says that is true. And he leaves, and from that day, he becomes Goswami Tulsidas Ji. Goes to Kashi, studies more, and then becomes more. Puja Guruji would share one joke. He would say, somebody told, all these saints, they got wisdom by statements by their wives. One statement was there, they became such great saints. So Guruji told him, you get scolding every day. They became Tulsidas, you remain Kulfidas. Nothing changed over here. But the point is, you look at the power of Pratipaksha Bhavana. It can transform an ordinary, even an attached person, into a great saint. We talk of Pratibandha, right, in Vedanta. Pratibandha means if there is something ready to launch, things which are holding that thing back. One of the greatest Pratibandha is this one. Fascination for human body. If that is removed, then the sadhaka's spiritual journey is relatively easy. And there are very few places where antidotes are given, and this antidote is Pratipaksha Bhavana. But what is the main thing? Etan mamsava sadhi vikaram. He says this human body is a modification of flesh. That Madalasa queen, she just applied it. How you have demonstration, right? She did it in a practical way, so it becomes more clearer. Manasi vichintaya varam varam. But another word which is important here is drushtva. Drushtva means what? Be very, very careful of where sense organs are going. Once sense organs are out of control, he says it is very difficult to control mind. So if you have to do Dhamma, Dhamma means keeping sense organs under control, he says that is the best way to start. Now this you can apply it even at a wider setting, in a different context also you can apply, in particular for children. Right? If they have difficulty concentrating, difficulty focusing, we say try Dhamma first, and then you see how mind comes more and more under control. Right? They have different rules even for cell phones and everything, right? You have screen time. Or at least when you are studying, during that time, if you can keep all distractions away. If you are sitting for Shravanam, making this sankalpa that I will not look left and right. Gurudev's classes in Himalayas, behind in our Siddhabari ashram, Guruji's instruction to the students was, even if Himalaya falls down, don't turn back. Because you can't save it anyway. Right? You are here, you sit down and just keep your mind focused. one of our other Swamiji was very sarcastic, in a good way, very loving way. If somebody would get fidgety, somebody would start looking here and there, he would tell them, sir, government is already formed. Cabinet seats are not open. Nobody is calling you right now. So sit here, 1 hour you will be here, listen to me, then you can go. But Gurudev's one was more mellower. If Himalaya falls, don't look back. But the point is, if we train our mind to sit in that way, then you see, you can recap the whole class. For students, it can be in their own college, listening to their professor. If you develop some tweaks in our ability to grasp things, the recollection part becomes easier. So, Drushtva is where it starts, keeping sense organs under control. I remember one incident, I'll conclude with that. We had gone for yatra, after our Sandeepany course. There was one place we went in, Haridwar. And that Swamiji who was there, within half an hour, he recapped entire Vedanta course. 2 years, whatever we studied, within half an hour he painted a broad picture. But there they are very strict. They will make brahmachari sit separately, brahmacharini sit separately. And they are so strict that they would not even look anywhere else. So I still remember that half an hour discourse he gave, just looking at one brahmachari. Just looking at one, and this is some Swamiji who has lived a monastic life for 40 years. Not a new, spiritual entrant. 40 years of sannyasa life, and that is his discipline. We should just take the right message. The word Drushtva, the ability to keep sense organs under control. But that brahmachari was very intimidated. He thought, what did I do? I am getting all the attention, all the knowledge. Out of these 50 people, my ignorance is getting destroyed today. But that is their quality we should appreciate. Drushtva maga moha vesham. If drushti is not under control, it doesn't take more time to get deluded. Moha is following right there. So that is the message. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.